Hello, everybody. It's me again, Stephanie K from Unveiling the Spirit. I don't know. That seems to be my introduction that I've been sticking with. It's starting to sound kind of cliche-ish, maybe a little bit, but if I think of something else to start this with, then I will do that. Until then, I guess I'm just going to keep saying, it's me, Stephanie K from Unveiling the Spirit. Anyway. So thanks for tuning in today to my video. Again, as always, I hope you get something out of it. If so, please let me know, because I like to know that I'm not just talking I'm not just talking for no reason. I want to know if I'm actually helping people. So if I am, please let me know. I want to unveil the spirit today. It's a little bit of a branch off from my other video about sin consciousness, and I wanted to talk about spiritual growth, because I said at the end of that other video, the sin consciousness video, that if you never think about your past sin, you're going to negate some kind of necessary spiritual growth that needs to take place. Because the fact of the matter is, once you get saved and accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, that does not necessarily mean you stop sinning. Paul talks about this when he said, I believe in Romans, that I don't do what I want to do, and what I know is right, I don't do it. And so once you become a Christian, that doesn't necessarily mean all your problems are solved. They're solved in a spiritual sense, but we still have work to do to bring those things to fruition. And so one of those things entails is dealing with our issues. Now, if you never think about your past sin, then you won't be able to deal with your issue, because the thing is, everything we do is only a product of what we believe, and what we believe is usually shaped by what was taught to us through other people and through our experiences. And so if you are doing something, a behavior, even sin or not sin, it is rooted in a belief. It is rooted in a way that you have come to accept and see things. And so if you're struggling, so once you become saved, every belief in your mind does not change. They have to be replaced with different beliefs. And so if you believe, say for example, that you was raised to believe that beauty is the most important thing, just because you become a Christian doesn't, well, let me go back. So if you were raised to think that beauty is the most important thing, and so all this encourages your behavior of always trying to look nice, buy nice clothes, keep your hair done, keep your nails done, always look pristine all the time. Just because you become a Christian does not necessarily mean you're going to stop doing that. That belief is still in there. And on the onset, it doesn't even seem like a harmful belief. But it becomes harmful when you put beauty before more important things, like morals, like making wise decisions with your money, and most importantly, when you put it before God, And so you have to go through the process of not only identifying that false belief within yourself or making some adjustments to it, but then replacing that belief with a more godly belief, or a biblical belief, or a spiritual belief. And so that process is how we grow spiritually, because when we first become Christians, we are what you call babes in Christ. We don't really understand what it means mentally to live as a Christian. And that's why the Bible talks about renewing your mind, because you have to do that in order to walk it out. Because we are to me, I see us as I don't see us as like this, but this is just an example. We're like computers. Our brains are like computers. And so we run on certain hardware, I think it's called. My husband knows more about computers than I do, so forgive my terminology if it's not accurate. We run on certain programs. And so those programs dictate what we do, what we don't do, how we act, and how we don't act. This is one of the reasons why I love the movie Matrix, because it really dives into this idea of being programmed, doing what you're programmed to do, and the type of the strength that it takes to break outside of those barriers. And so I really love the movie for that. And so and that not only when you break outside of those barriers do you have to be it's not enough to just be aware of being able to break outside the barrier, but to be confident in your ability to break outside of the barrier, which was the difference between like Keanu Reeves' character and like Lawrence Fishburne's character. Like, they knew that they could break outside the barrier, but they were still very limited in their thinking about their confidence in being able to do that. And so that's why they would die in the Matrix, and Keanu Reeves didn't, because his understanding was beyond the limitations of the Matrix. And so I like the kind of complicated stuff, the puzzle type of stuff that you can break apart and dissect. I eat it up for days. So anyway, so you have to get to the roots of the belief that is dictating your behavior, the program in you that is dictating what you're doing. And so this is a process of spiritual growth, is gradually replacing those faulty ideas with the right ones. And so if you never think about your past sin, you will never be able to undergo that process. I've grown spiritually. I've seen so many Christians backslide, turn their back on God completely, or just do not grow at all because they don't want to face their issues. You have to. God is not having you face your issues because he wants to condemn you. He's trying to cleanse you, and he cannot do that if it's like, say for example, you have your issue and you are, say this is your issue. I drink this. I don't want to like promote this or anything, but I just picked it up. Maybe I should pick up something else, but okay, I'll pick up this my hairbrush. So this is my brush, and this is, say this is your issue. Now, if you are holding your issue, God can't, not only, especially if you're used to holding your issue, you don't even realize you're holding your issue. God can't take it from you. And he's not going to get into a tugging match with you to take your issue. He's going to just try to tell you, look, I need you to realize that there's something in your hand. And so you say, oh, there is something in my hand. And now he's like, okay, I need you to give it to me. And so if you don't go through that process, or like I said, never think about your sin, which is the brush, you're just holding it and you never think about it, you are not going through the process of getting rid of it and then replacing it with the right belief. And so I think it's very, very important that we do that. Without it, you just do not grow spiritually, because the experience of having God, the experience of God taking these things from you and replacing them with right beliefs, that process is what forms your relationship with God. You guys start communicating. You start trusting him. You start seeing that the effects of how it affects you when he does that. There are times he delivered me from things and I just felt like, the saying goes, like a monkey on your back. I just felt like a weight was lifted off of me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know it was possible to feel this way. And I thought I had reached the top, and found out there was more stuff there, but I just got so used to it being there, I didn't recognize it. But once God took it, I was like, oh, wow. And then I thought I didn't have anything else. And then he took something else, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's more. And then I found there was something else. I'm like, oh, wow, you know, so it just keeps happening and you keep growing. And as you do that, you start to understand who God is. Like, wow, he's really, the way he thinks, how he addresses issues, how he feels about you. Those things all grow as you deal with your issues. Let him replace the beliefs that they're rooted in and experiences they're rooted in with his word and his love and his perspective on it. And then you grow. Like I said, I've seen so many people just lose so much because they do not want to face their issues. I've seen people get saved and they're so excited about God and they're so happy and gung-ho. But then after a while, God's going to start knocking on your door. He's going to start saying, okay, you know I'm real. You know I'm here. You have enough understanding that I love you. We need to start. Our relationship has gone as far as it can go while you're still carrying this stuff. So I need you to start dealing with this and let it go so that me and you can grow. And so many people don't do it. They don't want to admit that they're wrong. They don't want to admit that something that they did was bad. I can't tell you all the reasons why people do that, because I've never really been that way. I mean, I've struggled with accepting some things about myself, yes, but it was never like I wanted to keep it. I just wasn't aware of it. So when I became aware of it, I was really surprised, like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know I was doing that. And it is hard. And so I do understand why some people don't want to do it, because it is hard. In some ways, it's earth shattering, especially when you've been doing something for so long and you thought it was the right thing, and then you find out you were actually totally wrong. Not only wrong, but being wicked. It's almost like being stripped naked in public. It's like, oh my goodness, no, I didn't do that. You just don't want to admit it. And I understand why people run from those things. Another thing is like when what he wants to deal with is connected to like childhood trauma or pain. And I do talk about this in Reason 3 of my book series. The pain that surfaces when he starts trying to knocking on your door about that issue, you like, no, I don't want to deal with that. But even aside from the pain, it comes from a belief. The pain comes from a belief, and that's what he has to get to. So you have to almost push past the pain to get to the belief so that he can take it out and then replace it with something new. Like sometimes people don't want to face things about themselves because they think that it means that the belief is, I don't deserve love. And so they like, no, I can't face that, because they're scared that that thing is going to be true. But once God gets in there and he takes the belief out, then no, it doesn't mean that you're not loved. I love you even more for this, you know. And so then the fear is gone. Then the pain is gone. Then the struggle is gone. But you have to let God get to the root of it. And so that's basically what I wanted to talk about spiritual struggles. I didn't really go into a lot of scriptures about this, but I will post some in connection to it, because I think that this is very critical in a lot of Christians, that we don't grow spiritually like we should, because we're avoiding issues, avoiding relationships, avoiding things that make us uncomfortable. And we have to deal with these things if we're going to grow. We have to be aware of our sin, not condemned by our sin, but aware of what we did, so that God can help us deal with it. And so that's kind of when I go into about sin consciousness. So basically that's it about growing spiritually and dealing with your issues. They go hand in hand. And if you have any questions or comments or personal struggles of your own that you want me to give you some advice or perspective on, I will be totally glad to do it. You can email me at unveilingthespirit@gmail.com. My web address is unveilingthespirit.@weebly. I think it's .weebly@weebly.com, or however it's just Weebly connected to the end of Unveiling the Spirit. And it, you know, Weebly's on there because I don't pay for the site, but I will eventually, but right now I'm not. And so that's my website where you can submit questions and things like that, and can I answer a couple questions before you submit your own question. One of the things that I would advise you to look for or explain in your question, if you have it, is one indication that you're not dealing with a spiritual issue is when you keep having a reoccurring problem. Say for example, your relationships keep failing, or you keep having the same problem with people, or people keep saying the same thing about you, and you're not understanding why that's happening. Or like in a situation where I talked about in another video, you keep having these breakdowns of crying and you don't know why. Or you have these habits of trying to soothe yourself from something, whether it's drugs or sex, or some type of destructive habit, or something that you just made an idol out of. Doesn't necessarily have to be destructive on the surface. Like for example, I had an issue with watching movies, and I needed to deal with some stuff. The movies was just a cover for what I didn't want to deal with. And so people do that all the time with exercising, money, jobs, careers, kids, all types of stuff. And so you really have to zoom in and become focused to actually sort these things out, because they are not easy to pinpoint and then deal with and overcome. And so, but once you do, it's priceless. It's like a weight lifted off of you that you didn't even know was there, and your relationship with God deepens. And so I want to encourage everybody to face your issues. If you need some help, I'll be more than happy to help you. Submit questions to me, and I'll try to help you figure it out. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and you guys have a blessed day. Bye.